On Zombie Reddit, today's story is...
My best friend accessed my computer and ruined my career, but a lottery ticket revealed his true colors and karma did the rest. I have been working for the same company for almost a decade. We manufacture cars, and I cannot reveal any more details about my work, even though I am using fictitious names and a new account. My company does not tolerate this kind of indiscretion. Over the past 3 years, I have worked extremely hard to get a promotion that was extremely difficult to obtain. I put in a lot of dedication just to be considered, as the position is really valuable. About a month ago, my supervisor Lily told me that the position would probably be mine, since all the other candidates were no longer even under consideration. The fact is that my performance speaks for itself, and I have been the leader of my department for quite some time. But then something happened that literally ruined everything, and for the last few days I've been thinking that there's no one else who could have done it, except Kevin, my best friend. Kevin and I have known each other since we were about 16 years old. We met at school and immediately became best friends. Kevin is a very nice person and comes from a wealthy family, while I come from a middle-class family. However, he never had any elitist attitudes, so our friendship flourished naturally. We went to different universities, but we kept in touch and later we moved to the same city. We have always supported each other and helped each other on numerous occasions. In fact, that's why I find it very difficult to believe that he is responsible for all this. But, again, I have analyzed this situation relentlessly, and there is no one else who could have done it. A few years ago, I married my wife, Bika, and Kevin was the best man. That's how close our friendship is. But as time went by, some people told me that Kevin was not a good person. Not that I believed them. My wife, Becca, didn't like him at first either, but gradually she grew fond of him, as did other people. She used to tell me that he was envious of me. It's true that I've generally done better than him in most respects, but that doesn't mean he should be jealous, and even if he were, he wouldn't do something so crazy just to get back at me. More than 6 years ago, Kevin had a big fight with his parents, and they disinherited him. He had no money and no job, so I let him stay with me. I spoke to my boss and got him an interview at my company. After working for a few months, he reconciled with his parents, but chose to continue working to show them that he didn't depend on their family wealth. So you could say that I'm the reason he works here, so why would he sabotage me? It doesn't seem to make much sense. You're probably wondering if we're such good friends, why do I suspect him in the first place? Let me explain exactly what happened. As I mentioned, after getting him the job, Kevin and I started working together, and for almost the last 6 years, we've worked side by side. But I would say that because of my performance and my interest in progressing, I've always been one step ahead. Kevin has never hidden his desire to lead, but because of my seniority and the fact that I maintain good relationships with everyone on the team, something that Kevin doesn't do, I've always gotten the promotions. I think Kevin and I had more of a friendly rivalry, because in the end we always supported each other. But some of my colleagues warned me that he wasn't really my friend. I thought they were just upset. A few years ago, when I told Kevin that I wanted to get the position I was working so hard for, he laughed and wished me luck. He said he wasn't interested in chasing unattainable dreams. But many months later, as soon as he found out that I might have a chance, he also started to fight for the position, which didn't bother me, as he had every right to try. He is competent in his work, like me, and is the only person who could have tried to compete with me. But when it came down to just the two of us, our bosses didn't even consider him. He wasn't discouraged and wished me good luck. A month ago, I was convinced that the position was mine. All I had to do was wait, and then a week later, I was assigned a huge project. My boss, Lily, didn't say a word, but I knew that this was her way of giving me a final test. Apart from the time pressure, there was nothing really complicated about the project, but even so, I gave it my full attention so that it would be perfect and nobody could object to anything. All the members of my team did an excellent job of supporting me, as they knew what was at stake. Tony, a newly hired employee, was more than willing to help, and even provided me with some valuable ideas. A few days ago, the project was finally completed, and that was the last day I reviewed it. I must be honest, I was very satisfied with the result. The next day, Lily took the project from my hands and sent it to the client. She knew that I rarely make minor mistakes, much less serious ones. Obviously, I took half a day off and went home to relax, because I had been working excessively on this. A few hours after arriving home, I received a call from one of my colleagues, who was extremely upset. He asked me to return to the office immediately, so I went back without delay. I found Lily and other department heads doing their best to control the disaster, because my project had caused a huge problem. Everyone above me was furious, but it was clear to me that someone had sabotaged me. Kevin played a crucial role in controlling the disaster, as after I went home, he reviewed the project and discovered that it wasn't what I had done. He immediately started informing everyone, which helped to mitigate the damage. He asked me how this had happened, and I told him I had no idea. He said that after I left, he wanted to review the project and discovered that it was something completely different. So he alerted everyone. By this point, I wasn't even upset. I was depressed because I knew what this meant for my promotion. Kevin asked me not to be sad and told me that he even tried to take all the responsibility just to protect my promotion. But everyone already knew that I was in charge of that, so they asked him to stop lying. He said he did the best he could, and I thanked him. Then Lily asked me how I could have let this happen. I told her I didn't know what had happened. She was also angry with me and couldn't believe the situation. Then a meeting was organized and I was called in. I tried to explain that someone had sabotaged me, but obviously the blame fell on me. No one could help me at that point, and this led to me not receiving the promotion I had been assured of. Instead, Kevin ended up getting it because he demonstrated leadership skills and quick thinking. They were impressed with how I had handled the situation. He tried to act like he wasn't happy, but I told him it was okay. He claimed he had earned the position fairly, and I expressed my joy for him. Everyone else felt sorry for me, and after that, I retired. Lily gave me this week off because she understands how I feel. Over the last few days, I've been wondering, who could have sabotaged me? Who would have benefited from doing this? But I didn't find any answers, except Kevin. There was no one else who could have done something like this, and I didn't want to doubt him. But yesterday, our new employee Tony called me and told me that he saw something the day before the disaster. He forgot something in the office and ran back. He found what he was looking for and also saw Kevin there, near my computer. When he was leaving, he saw him accessing it, but he didn't think anything of it because he thought we were friends. But now, he thinks Kevin was the one who did it. This disturbed me because it's one more reason to believe that it was Kevin. But here I am, struggling with this, because I've never done anything but appreciate him and we've always supported each other. I would like to get an impartial opinion, one that tells me what people who see this from an outside perspective think. In the meantime, I'll try to find more information when I get back to the office. Update 1. Finally, I can say with certainty that I know who sabotaged me. I want to thank everyone who tried to help and offered some advice, because it was useful, believe it or not. Not so much the cameras, because at least in my area there aren't any we can use. To the people who suggested that I was jealous of Kevin's success or that I was just a bad friend, let me tell you something. If I was jealous or hated him, I would never have made this post in the first place. I made it because doubting him seemed wrong to me and no one else could have done it, except him. Many of you also asked why I didn't suspect others. Obviously, there are many people who could have done it. I considered them, but for various reasons I ruled them out. You see, there are aspects that other people don't know, but everyone else who has worked under my supervision would have gained a lot from my promotion. They have worked with me for a long time, so it is unlikely that any of them would have done something like this. The new hire wouldn't have known how to do it, which only left Kevin. Now, even though there was no one else to suspect, I still wasn't going to accuse Kevin without proof. That's how deep my appreciation and trust for him went. Even after Tony mentioned that he saw Kevin hovering over my computer late at night, I still wanted to believe it wasn't him. But as the days went by, it became more and more evident that Kevin was surely involved. A few days after my publication, I returned to the office and resumed my work. Kevin was acting normally and was the only person who continued to tell me that we needed to catch the culprit. He showed a lot of confidence and expressed no doubts about his innocence. He pretended to help me find the person responsible. I spoke to other colleagues and confirmed that none of them could have done it. The point is that they had nothing to gain from it. If I had been promoted, their conditions would have improved because there would have been increases for the team. Lily said she had investigated and asked exhaustively, but she had no idea how this had happened and she apologized, as she knew I would never have made such a mistake. I told her it was okay and went home. Until yesterday, I hadn't mentioned anything to my wife. But after being convinced that it had to be Kevin, I decided to share my suspicion. I talked to Becca about it and told her what I thought had happened. She revealed that Kevin had talked to her about me, about the project. I thought he was worried about me because he saw that I was a bit stressed with the project, the promotion, and this whole situation. So I imagined he was preparing some surprise for me. But now that I mentioned it, together with the fact that he was seen next to my computer, it seemed a bit strange. So it was quite clear that he was trying to harm me, because nothing Becca thought he was planning materialized. Why would he inquire about so many personal aspects of mine? It turns out that my best friend has been my greatest adversary all along. For years, he has been jealous and wished me to fail, and has been trying to harm me while I remained trusting, believing that he appreciated me like a brother. I swear I will make him regret what he did to me. Just wait and see. Update 2. A week has passed since my last update, and I have finally decided what I am going to do about Kevin. Obviously, I wasn't going to let it pass, but until now I wasn't completely sure of my plan of action. At one point, I even considered whether I should leave everything behind and concentrate on my life. But people like Kevin deserve to have their lives complicated. I hadn't done anything negative to him. I'd even supported him in improving his situation. But he tried to ruin my life. He was deeply jealous of me and all my achievements, and he could also have done many other things that I will never know about, even after I'd helped him countless times. By sabotaging my project, he broke our friendship. Due to his new position, Kevin has been quite busy, but yesterday he had some free time, so we talked. We always have lunch together outside the office, but in recent weeks, he had been avoiding it. Maybe it's because of guilt. Today, he was available and we went out for lunch. His whole conversation revolved around his new position, his responsibilities, and how much he liked it. He also apologized for stealing the job from me, and I told him it was okay. I mentioned that he hadn't cheated on me or anything like that, and I watched his reaction. Kevin remained very calm and collected, and just laughed constantly. He didn't show any sign of fear or guilt. Then I gave him a chance to be honest and tell me the truth about how he really felt about me. I asked him how he had been feeling about me lately, and if he had noticed any changes in our relationship. He replied that he thought we were still the same and that we appreciated and cared for each other just as much. He smiled and assured me that nothing could alter how much he valued me. I was truly his brother, and he was happy to have someone who would always support him. Mentally, I thought, I wish I could say the same, but I told him I felt the same. Then he asked me how I felt, and I decided to do something to increase his confidence and satisfaction. I told him that after everything that had happened, I had stopped feeling comfortable with my work and had considered resigning. I told him that I no longer felt motivated to work and that I didn't feel so creative or interested in my responsibilities. I also mentioned to him that things weren't going very well at home and that there were many difficulties between Becca and me. He apologized, but I could tell that he was actually slightly pleased. It turns out that this is exactly what he wanted, for me to be unhappy while he enjoyed his success. I can't explain to you why he feels this way, but I am convinced that he hates me and wishes me to suffer. After that, he got up and did something I hadn't seen him do in almost a year. He bought a lottery ticket before returning to the office. He used to buy lottery tickets frequently before, but he gave it up. I asked him when he had resumed this habit, and he said a few weeks ago because he started feeling lucky. I wished him luck with that and left the shop with a big smile on my face, because that's exactly what I should do. He gave me the best idea possible. Kevin has only been working because his parents never allowed him to use much money or depend on them. They have never been proud of him, and he wants to earn a considerable amount of money and show them what he is capable of. Furthermore, if he wins the lottery, or at least if he manages to make himself believe he has won, he will lose everything. There is a high probability that he will destroy his own life through overconfidence. I'm not completely sure that this is going to work, but there is a good chance. So I'm going to give it a try. Let me implement this plan first, and I will share the exact results with you in another publication. Update 3. I can't wait to tell you what happened. You won't believe it. I spent a few days looking for someone who could make me a fake ticket that looked extremely authentic. If my plan was going to work, I needed Kevin to genuinely believe he had won. If there was any doubt, things wouldn't turn out as I hoped. So I made sure I found the best person for the job. After searching for several days, I found an individual whose work was practically identical to the original. I found it hard to believe that it wasn't authentic. This guy makes tickets for corporate events, where employees receive some of these tickets and can win prizes, typical at end-of-year celebrations. I met with him and asked for his help. He was surprised that I only wanted a small amount and almost refused, but then I explained the purpose and he decided to collaborate. He wasn't going to buy 100 tickets, which was the minimum required to activate the machines. Afterwards, I looked for someone who could sell it to Kevin. Obviously, if a shop sold him a fake one, the establishment would have legal problems, so they would never accept. But if a random individual sold it to him on the street, there would be no drawbacks, and that way, no one would believe his story. I found someone willing to help me in exchange for financial compensation, so I asked him to do it immediately. We planned everything in detail, and as soon as those tickets were ready, We started to execute the plan. This morning, I gave the seller all the instructions, and he assured me that he wouldn't make any mistakes. All he had to do was make sure that Kevin went out to lunch with me and bought a ticket. The lunch thing was easy. I mentioned that I wanted to share some concerns with him. I gave him the usual spiel about being depressed, and he seemed pleased to listen and offer his support. He assured me that everything would get better. Surely, internally, he was enjoying my discomfort. Almost 2 hours after lunch, I heard a loud exclamation coming from Kevin's office. Then he came out, his face completely red. He started shouting and jumping for joy. He refused to answer questions from those present, but when Lily asked him to calm down, he replied sharply and announced that he had just won $1 million. Lily told him that it was extraordinary news, but that he shouldn't behave like that, and he replied that he didn't have to listen to her anymore. Nobody could take in what was happening. I just watched everything, trying to contain my smile. I've just got home, and I can't stop laughing. I can't wait to see his reaction when he finds out the ticket is a fake. I wish I could see his face right now. Update 4. These last 2 weeks have been extremely revealing. They show how much one life can improve and how much another can deteriorate. I think that the next day, or maybe the same day, Kevin realized that the lottery ticket was a fake. He tried to redeem it, but they informed him that it was not authentic, as it lacked the security features with which the real ones are printed. Basically, they explained to him what had happened, that it was one of those counterfeit tickets that are used for promotional events. A few days later, he returned to the office, and Lily refused to let him in. But everyone present asked to hear what he had to say. He looked deeply ashamed as he tried to apologize to everyone for his behavior. He said that this job had given him everything, and that he shouldn't have disrespected the company or his colleagues in that way. He explained that he was not in full possession of his mental faculties, and that a similar incident would not happen again. He apologized especially to Lily and said that he really needed to keep his job. He pleaded with her, but she simply ordered him to leave. He left without looking at me even once. After my last update, I also contacted Kevin's parents and told them everything that had happened, from the sabotage to his behavior at the office. A few days after he showed up at the company, he showed up at my house to implore me for help. He started by apologizing and saying that he didn't even deserve to be heard, but he knew I would listen to him because, unlike him, I was a person of integrity. I asked him to stop dramatizing and get to the point. He mentioned that he had nowhere to stay, he was banned from other companies, and his parents were not answering his calls. He could only turn to me for assistance. He begged and pleaded with me to forgive him and help him. I told him that I had already forgiven him, since I too had taken certain measures. He was surprised and asked me what I meant. I explained in detail everything I had done, and how I had put him in a situation where he had ruined his own life. He couldn't believe it, but as I went through every detail, he became more and more furious. After revealing that I had even managed to get his parents to cut off all contact with him, he couldn't contain himself any longer, and literally assaulted me. My wife called the authorities, and he was arrested for assault. I could have been arrested too, because I certainly defended myself, and I definitely wanted to hit him for several weeks. But I have a small camera on my doorbell, and the recording clearly shows who initiated the aggression. I haven't seen him since, but I hope he experiences many difficulties in the future, which is likely to happen. I am very satisfied with my actions because I believe they were deserved. And 2 days ago, the management decided to promote me and give me the position I should have obtained initially. He tried to ruin my life, improving his own, but fate restored the balance. It has even given him a bigger karmic lesson. Update 5. My former best friend continues to try to harm me while his situation progressively worsens, so I consider it appropriate to continue sharing updates here. His aggression has had legal consequences, a $1,000 fine and 55 hours of community service. I wonder how many lottery tickets he can buy with that money. His aspiration to get rich without effort will have to be postponed. He tried to seduce my wife, or at least that's what he thought he was doing. He contacted her to ask if they could meet. My wife is fully aware of his actions, so she was prepared. She replied that she would not meet him unless he explained his intentions. He insisted that he could only reveal them to her in person, but considering the place he chose for the meeting, his intentions were quite obvious. It wasn't just a coffee. She declined his invitation and made it clear that she would not go to a place like that with him, that she had an excellent husband with a good job and a decent salary. She was just trying to provoke him, but it was enough for him to question whether he was only interested in the financial aspect. because he had occupied the same position as me when he took it from me. And indeed, he used that word, although he later tried to qualify it by saying that he only said it because we had competed and he got it at the last minute. Most recent information I have received is that he has moved within the state, although I do not know his exact destination. Not only because he was banned from working here, which is a valid reason for moving, but because many people know his story, and it is one of those hilarious work anecdotes that circulate throughout the city. Everyone identifies him as the guy who quit his job for a toy ticket.